The content in this podcast is of graphic and brutal nature. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Devin Zahn, and welcome to episode 7 of Tales for the Dark, Creepy Internet Stories. We got another great show for you guys today, as always. I know I keep saying that. But we have another 3 stories to go through today, including a creepypasta. We got a true crime story and a cryptid story for you guys. And cryptid, I think especially you guys are going to like. But going into our opening statements, we have our dad jokes for the episode. So let's get right into that. We have the first one. What do you call a factory that makes okay products? A satisfactory. That's a good one. That's pretty decent. Alright, the second one. We have, Dear Math, grow up and solve your own problems. I get that, and I feel that on a whole new level. You have no idea. What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet? Supplies! Okay, now we're just getting to the cheesy territory. It's funny. It's funny, I'll give you that. But, yeah. Predictable, yet funny. Have you heard about the chocolate record player? It sounds pretty sweet. Yeah, no, I think I like the other one better, to be honest. And the last one for this episode, we have, what did the ocean say to the beach? Nothing. It just waved. At least we ended on a strong note. That was pretty funny. That was pretty good. I will take that. Thank you very much to countryliving.com again for these, for having such a massive list of dad jokes, because that's something a website normally has. Okay, so from there, we are going to get into our taste tests for this episode, and we have a couple of them, as usual, for the big episodes. So, we're actually going to start with something you guys might be familiar with, although the flavor might be a little different. We have a Kit Kat. Yes, that's right, Kit Kat. But not just any Kit Kat. It's fruity cereal Kit Kat. And on the package, it has like a bowl of Fruit Loops on it. So, you know what? Actually, before we get into this, I want to take a picture of it. Shoo. Let me see how I can do this. Okay, just in case I want to post it. So we're going to eat this one first. We have 2 taste tests today, but of course this will be the first. So this is the fruity cereal flavored Kit Kat. And we're not off to a good start. This thing's melting already. I don't know why. Here we go. Oh no, that's good. That's really good. Okay. So it does taste like Fruit Loops. Which, again, that's like the picture on the packaging, but... It's really good. I almost want to end the podcast right here and just finish this entire pack. Okay. I had to finish the entire stick. That's what she said. Okay. Fruity cereal Kit Kat. 9 out of 10. It gets better every bite you take out of it. Not kidding at all. So it's a pink package, like a pinkish violet package. You'll know if you see Fruit Loops kind of bowl of cereal on the package. Really good, 9 out of 10. But that leads us into our second taste test, and this one is, oh god, I hope I can read this. Okay, Nopers Milk Hazelnut Wafer. So it's a wafer cookie, kind of like like your Oreo style cookie, but with wafers. And oh my god, this looks like the thing you would get as a kid, you know, those like Neapolitan wafer cookies you would get. It would be like white, gold, and chocolate. Looks like that. Okay, let's give this a shot. This actually looks pretty good. I think I treated myself this episode, I must say. So, here we go. Oh, yes, I did. Oh my god. Holy mother, that's amazing. That's gonna get the highest score ever. I'm taking another bite right away. I don't even care. Okay. You guys like wafer cookies? This is like the Oreo of wafer cookies. Except it was like dipped in chocolate. So, Okay, so this was Noper's Milk Hazelnut Wafer. And what do I gotta say about this? This is a 10 out of 10. This is the pinnacle of snacks that I've tried. And I've tried everything from the last one to freaking bugs. So you can understand why this one is freaking amazing for me. And so, yeah, that's our taste test for this episode. So we are going to be heading right into our next story for this week, our first story, I should say, and that is a creepypasta by the name of Ben Drowned. So let's get that out. So this is our first creepypasta story that is actually based off of a video game by the name of Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Alright, so into the creepypasta itself. Post number 1, posted on September 7th, 2010. Okay, X, I need your help with this. This is not a copypasta, this is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. This is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask. And this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all those games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, fuck yeah, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for only $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it. But something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of better words, displeasing. It was odd, if you asked me, to tell you why I thought he was displeasing. I really couldn't pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there weren't other people within shouting distance, I would have never gone and approached this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for, and immediately I noticed that he must have been blind in one eye. His right eye had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look at his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he would tell me he didn't have any video games, but to my surprise, he said he had a few in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason, it looked almost like Majora's Mask. The same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at one of these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots, but given the events that happened afterwards, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up to see the old man standing there, again, arm's length in front of me, smiling. I'll admit, I jumped out of reflex and I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was the standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora on it in a black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I really didn't pay any attention to it. I was too caught up in only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since this looked pretty shady and there's no guarantee it would work. But the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least that's what it sounded like. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it actually worked fine. And there was one save file simply named Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying, "Goodbye, Ben." I felt bad for the man, obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile, and I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben. Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file. Eyeballing it, I could tell that he was pretty far in the game. He had almost all the masks and 3/4 remains of the bosses. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the stone tower temple with hardly an hour left before the mood would crash down. I remember thinking that it was a shame that he had come so close to beating the game, but never finished it. I made a new file named Link out of tradition and started the game up, ready to relive my childhood. For such a shady-looking game cartridge, I was impressed at how smoothly it ran, literally just like a retail copy of the game, save for a minor few hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPCs would call me Link, and other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in the programming, causing our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out though after a while, and it was around after I had beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted Ben. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect for the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyway. Hoping that would solve the problem, it did and it didn't. Now NPCs wouldn't call me anything. Where my name should be in the dialogue, there was just a blank space. My save file name was still called Link, though. I don't get it. Frustrated, and with homework to do, I put the game down for a day. I started playing the game again last night, getting the lens of truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those of you who don't, you can Google it, but the gist of it is that right as the clock is about to hit 0 on the final day, you talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right with the countdown, it disappears, and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you were doing. Deciding to do the glitch and try and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time counter at the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed the B button to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in Majora's boss fight room at the end of the game. The trippy boxed-in area, staring at Skull Kid hovering above me. There was no sound, just him floating in the air, and the background music, which was regular for the area, but still creepy, was still playing. Immediately, my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appeared here. I tried moving around the area, and no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had been bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when the text appeared on my screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. Instantly, I recognized that text. You get that message when you get the room key from Anju at the Stockpot Inn. But why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if that was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was to even think that someone could reprogram the game like this was something absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen. And again, like the first one, it was already a pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple's boss? Yes or no? I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react. When I realized I couldn't select no, taking a deep breath, I pressed yes, and the screen faded to white, with the words, Dawn of a New Day, with the subtext, LLLLL, beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I had ever experienced. The only way I can describe the way I felt here is having this feeling of inexplicable depression on a profound scale. I am normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was such a feeling that I didn't even know existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of Twilight Zone version of Clock Town. I walked out of the clock tower, as you normally do when you start from day one, only to find that all the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the 4th day glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around outside the tower. This time, they were all gone. What replaced them was the ominous feeling that there was something out there in the same area as me, and that it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow, but at this point, I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I felt that I personally was in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the Song of Healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. The music was getting louder, building up so as if you could expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did, and the constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then, I would hear the faint laugh of the happy masked salesman in the background, just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was just hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to find him. I looked in all 4 zones of the clock town, only to find nothing. No one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Hopelessly broken. As the reverse song of healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time, I just remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game before. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was the combination of the out-of-place textures and the atmosphere and the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here, and this powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling was prominent. I tried leaving Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone into another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape, and I did not want to be here. But every time I played the Song of Time or the Song of Soaring, it would only say, "Your notes echo far," but nothing happens. By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt that I would be too vulnerable there to whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head, and the screen flashed for a brief moment with the picture of the happy masked salesman smiling at me. Not Link, me, with Skull Kid's scream playing in the background, and when the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with the haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran back into South Clocktown, and to my horror, the fucking statue had followed me, and the only way I can compare this is like the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. By this point, I was on the verge of hysterics, but not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it. The terror felt so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin to make weird animations I had never seen him do before. He would flail his arms around or spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the happy masked salesman smiling again for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running into the Swordmaster's dojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic I just wanted some kind of assurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay, I found no one, but as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me in the cubby in the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword, but to no avail. Confused and backed into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly the screen flashed again to the happy masked salesman, and Link turned to face my screen, standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy. Literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered while I ran out of the dojo, terrified. Suddenly, the game warped me into an underground tunnel, and the reverse song of healing queued up again as I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again, this time aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it would summon behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in southern Clocktown. As I ran aimlessly in a sheer panic, suddenly a Redead screamed and the screen faded to black as Dawn of a New Day and LLLLL appeared again. The screen faded in and I was standing on top of the clock tower with Skull Kid hovering over me, again, silent. I looked up and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head, but the Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing. The Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid. And it actually hit him, and he played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow, a text box appeared saying, That won't do you any good. Hee hee. And I was picked up off the ground, levitated upwards on my back. And then Link screamed as he burst into flames, instantly killing him. I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skullkid himself didn't have any moves. As the death scene played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skullkid laughed and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames again, killing him. This time, during the death scene, the faint sound of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time. That all there was eerie silence. I remembered that in the original encounter with the Skull Kid, you were supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon the giants. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last note, Link's body, once again, horrifically exploded into flames and he died. As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug, as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time, Link was lying on the ground dead in a position I had never seen in the game before, his head tilted towards the camera, with the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move. I couldn't press any buttons. All I could do is just stare at Link's dead body. After around 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before kicking you out to the title screen. Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, it was replaced with, "Your turn." Your Turn had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I selected Your Turn, and immediately when I did, I was returned to the clock tower rooftop scene of my Link dead and the Skull Kid hovering over, with the Skull Kid laughing, looping over and over again, I might add. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted up again, there was one more save file added below Your Turn, entitled Ben. Ben's save file is right back where it was before I deleted it, at the Stone Tower Temple with the moon almost crashing. I turned the game off at this point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up, even for me. I haven't played it at all today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse song of healing music in my head and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way I was going there alone. Only to find that there was a for sale sign in the front yard, and when I rang the door, no one was home. So now I'm back here, writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if some of this is grammatically incorrect and whatnot. I'm running on no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game, and even more so now that I'm relived it a second time writing this all down. But I feel like there's still more to it that meets the eye, and that there's something calling to me to investigate this further. I think Ben is something in this equation, but I don't know what, and if I could get a hold of the old man, then I would be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate before tackling this game again. It's already taken a toll on my sanity, I feel like, but next time I do this, I'm going to be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you see the last few minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and the algae statue, but it's on YouTube here. I'm going to stay in this thread for a little while before I fall asleep to answer any questions you guys might have, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories to help me shed some light into this, or maybe things I should try to do. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow to see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit, but this is a little fucked up. But maybe this Ben guy is just really good at being a hacker/programmer. I don't want to think about the alternatives if he isn't. That's the end of the copy/paste. I'm hoping that maybe this is some kind of running gag that the developers had and that other people have gotten gag or hacked copies of the game like this. But just really scares me. Post number 2, posted on September 8th, 2010. I'm going to post what happened and link the video footage, but last night, everything got too real for me. I think I'm done messing around with this. I passed out pretty much immediately after making the thread, but last night, that Elegy of Emptiness statue, I had a dream about it. I dreamed that it was following me around, that I would be minding my own business when I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end. I would turn around, that thing, that horrible, lifeless statue would be staring at me with those empty eyes, merely inches away. In my dream, I remember calling it Ben, and never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. But the important thing is, I did get some sleep, I suppose. Today, putting off playing the game as long as I could, I drove back to that neighborhood to see if the old man had came back. As I expected, the car was still gone, and no one was home. As I was walking back to my car, the man next door, mowing his grass, killed the power to his lawnmower and asked me if I was looking for someone. I told him that I was looking to talk to the old man that lived here, to which he told me what I already knew. He was moving. Trying a different avenue, I asked if the old man had any family or relatives I could talk to. I discovered that this old man had never been married, nor did he have any children or grandchildren through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question, one that I should have been asking from the beginning. Who was Ben? The man's expression turned grim, and I learned that 4 doors down, around 8 years ago, on April 23rd, the man informed me that it was the same day as his anniversary. That's how he knew the specific date. That there was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood. Shortly after his parents moved, and despite any further attempts to talk to the man to get more information, he wouldn't divulge anything else. I went back and started playing again. I loaded up the game and immediately I jumped at the title screen where the mask flies by. The sound that played was not normal. It wasn't the normal whoosh sound. It was something much more higher pitched. I pressed start, bracing for the worst, but just like 2 nights ago, the files, Your Turn and Ben, were displayed. Truth be told, I looked at the Ben file earlier. It seems to fluctuate between displaying the owl save and not. I brought up the Ben file, hesitated for a moment, noticing that the stats were not the same as they originally were 2 days ago. It seemed like he had already completed the Stone Tower Temple this time. Summoning my courage, I selected it. Immediately, I was thrust into complete chaos. Sure enough, I was outside Stone Tower Temple, but that's all that was expected. The zone itself wasn't called Stone Tower Temple, but rather Stone. And immediately, a dialogue box of complete gibberish that I couldn't make out greeted me. Link's body was distorted, his back cocked violently to the side where his posture was permanently disfigured. Link's expression was dull, almost monotonous. He had an expression on his face that I didn't recognize before. It was a blank look, as if he was dead. As Link stood there, his body spasmed irregularly back and forth. I examined what I had become in my avatar, and I noticed I had a C button item that I had never seen before, some kind of note. But pressing it did nothing. Sounds played back and forth that I didn't recognize from the game, almost demonic in nature, and there was some kind of high-pitched yip or some kind of laugh or something playing in the background. I had all of 2 minutes to take in the environment before another one of those fucking Elegy of Emptiness statues was summoned, and immediately after, I was cut into the dawn of a new day screen again, except this time without the LLLL subtext. I was a Deku scrub in Clocktown. This scene would normally play after the first time you traveled back in time. Tattle would say, "What just happened? It's as if everything has..." But instead of saying
started over, she finished her remark in broken text as the laugh of the happy masked salesman played in the background. I was put back in control of my character, but from a fucked up camera angle. I was looking from behind to the door to the clock tower, watching my avatar run around as a Deku scrub. Seeing as how I really had no place to go because I couldn't see anything, I begrudgingly went inside the door. There, I was greeted by the happy masked salesman who simply told me, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before the screen whited out. I was in Termina Field as a human again. I might as well not have been playing the same game anymore. I was being warped around and there was no sign of a day clock or anything. I took a moment to get my bearings as I looked around the field, and immediately I could tell that this was not normal. There were no enemies, and a twisted version of the Happy Masked Salesman theme was playing. I decided to run towards Woodfall before I noticed a gathering of 3 figures off to the side, one of them being Epana. As I approached them, to my horror, I saw the Happy Masked Salesman, the Skull Kid, and the Algae of Emptiness statue just standing there. I figured maybe they were bugged out, but by now I told myself that I should know better. Nevertheless, I approached them carefully and found that Skull Kid was playing some kind of idle animation on loop. Same with Epana, and the Algae of Emptiness statue was doing what it had been doing, just standing there, eerily. It was the Happy Masked Salesman that scared me more profoundly than the other 2. He was too idle, wearing that shit-eating grin, but wherever I moved, his head slowly turned and followed me. I had not engaged in any dialogue with him, nor was I in combat with him, yet his head continued to follow my movements. Reminded of my first encounter with the Skull Kid on top of Clock Tower, I pulled out my ocarina, to which the game played the ding sound when you're supposed to play the ocarina. I tried a song I hadn't played yet, the Happy Masked Salesman owned song, and the song that had been playing on loop back in day 4, the Song of Healing. I finished playing the song, and as I did, an ear-piercing shriek blasted on my TV. The sky immediately started flashing. The Happy Masked Salesman, his twisted theme song sped up, intensifying the fear inside me, and Link exploded into flames and died. The 3 figures stayed lit up during my death screen as they watched my lifeless body burn. I can't describe to you how sudden and terrifying the transition from eerie to terror it is. You're going to have to watch the video if you want to see firsthand. The same fear that caused me to lose sleep 2 days ago started to grip me again as I met with the text, "You're met with a horrible fate, haven't you?" For the 3rd time, there has to be some kind of meaning behind that. I had little time to ponder as I was immediately given another small cutscene of transforming into a Zora, and now I found myself in Great Temple Bay. Hesitant but curious to see what the game had in store for me, I slowly made my way towards the beach, where I found Epona. I wondered why the game had decided to put her here. Was the game implying she was trying to get a drink? Unable to take the mask off, I decided that riding the steed was not the reason she was placed here. Suddenly, I realized that Epona kept neighing, and the way she was angled made it look like she was trying to signal a point to me off in the distance. It was a hunch, but I dove into the Great Bay and started swimming. Sure enough, I almost missed it. I found something at the bottom of the ocean, one last Algae of Emptiness statue. I went down to examine it, and suddenly my Zora started doing a choking animation I had never seen a Zora do before, which didn't even make sense because Zoras can breathe underwater. Regardless, my character choked to death and died, and again, the statue was the only thing that was highlighted in my death. I didn't respawn this time though. I was booted back to the main menu as if I had restarted the console. The press start screen was before me. I knew the only reason why it would put me here is because the save files have changed again. Taking a deep breath, I pressed start, and I was right. The new save files told me about Ben. Now it made sense why the statue appeared when I tried to go to the laundry pool. The game must have anticipated how I would have tried to escape the day 4 clock town. The two save files told me his fate. As I suspected, Ben was dead. He had drowned. The game obviously isn't through with me. It taunts me with the new save files. It wants me to keep playing. It wants me to go further. But I'm done with this shit. I'm not touching any more of the files. This is already way too horrifying for me, and I don't even believe in the paranormal, but I'm running out of explanations. Why would someone send me this message? I don't understand it. I just get too depressed thinking about all this. The footage is up here for those who want to see it and try to analyze it. Maybe there's some kind of coded message in the gibberish or something symbolic in what I went through. I'm too emotionally and mentally drained to fuck with it anymore. So, have at it. Post number 3, posted on September 10th, 2010. I know this is early in the morning. I've stayed up all night. I can't sleep. I don't care if people see this. That's not the point. I just wanted the word to get spread so I don't suffer for nothing. I've lost the will to type about this. The less I dwell on this, the better. I think the video just speaks for itself. I did what you guys told me to do. I played the Elegy of Emptiness song at the first prompt by the game I was given, but I think that's what the game, or Ben, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm even humoring this absurd idea that he exists in the game. Well, what Ben wanted me to do. He's following me now, not just in the game. He's in my dreams. I see him all the time, behind my back, just watching me. I haven't gone to any of my classes. I've stayed in my dorm room with the windows closed and the blinds shut. That way, I know he can't watch me. But he still gets to me when I play. While I play, he can still see me. The game is scaring me now. It talked to me for the first time, not just using text that is already in the game. It spoke to me, talked to me. It referenced Ben. It talked to me. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it wants. I never wanted this. I just want my old life back. Stuff like this doesn't happen to people like me. I'm just a kid, not even old enough to drink. It's not fair. I want to go home. I want to see my parents again. I'm so far away from home here at this school. I just want to hug my mom again. I just want to forget that that statue's horrible blank face. My original game file is back though, just the way I left it before it was gone. I don't want to play it anymore though. I feel like something bad will happen if I don't, but it's impossible. It's a video game, haunted or not, can't hurt me, right? Like seriously though, it can't, right? That's what I keep telling myself, but every time I think about it, I'm not so sure. Post number 4, posted on September 12th, 2010.
Let me just make one thing clear. I know you guys are worried about Jod Usable, but he's okay. He finished moving out today, and he said he's going back home. He's just taking this semester off. I'm not really sure what happened. I have a vague idea, but you guys probably know more than I do. I'm Jod Usable's roommate, and obviously I knew something was wrong with him for a few days now. He stayed in his room all the time, fell out of contact with literally all of his friends, and I'm pretty sure he hadn't been eating hardly anything. After the second day, I couldn't stay in there anymore, so I've been crashing at a buddy's place, only coming in to get stuff that I needed. I tried talking to him several times, but he would cut me off or keep the conversation brief when I asked him about his strange behavior. It's like he was convinced something was hunting him. Yesterday, I came to grab my philosophy book and he approached me, looking awful. Like horrible bags under his eyes. He handed me a flash drive and gave me specific instructions. He told me that he needs me to do one last favor for him. He finally explained to me what has been going on, gave me the account info to his YouTube account, and told me that he's getting away from here, that it lured him to play the game again instead of trying to change things, and that he shouldn't have done any of it, and to upload the footage and inform people of what happened. I told him that he could do it himself, and he got a wild look in his eyes and told me that he never was playing that game again. And that's the last thing he said to me. He never even said bye when his parents came to pick him up. I never even got to meet his parents. I honestly can't tell you what happened. When he spoke, it was kind of hard to understand what he said, and his fucked up appearance really distracted me. On the flash drive, there was footage of the game last night, and a text document with his name and password for YouTube, and a third document called thetruth.txt, containing what he told me were the notes that he had taken. He told me that this meant everything to him, and that I follow his instructions to the letter. And normally I wouldn't, especially for a request over a fucking video game, but the way he spoke and the way he looked made me know this was really serious, and I'm gonna honor that. I've had this video since yesterday, but had to have someone help me use Pinnacle. It's really not my forte. That, after watching it, I had to go back through and look at his other videos on his YouTube account to realize what was going on, and even then, I'm really even more confused. The video I'm releasing tonight, thetruth.txt, will be released on September 15th, just like he requested. I haven't dared peek at it yet, so the first time I see it will be the first time you see it, out of respect to my friend. To answer your questions, no, I haven't tried calling him yet. I think I'll give him a call tomorrow to see if he's okay or not. He should have gotten back home by now. About the video. In this video, I cut straight to where he loaded the Ben file in. Looking back, I realized that Jod Usable left the Safe Select screen in because it said different names sometimes. So, my bad for that. But all it said this time was the same at the end of his last video, Link and Ben. Nothing different. I wasn't there when he played, but it looks to me like in the beginning when he first spawns, he's testing out his equipment or seeing what items he has or something, because apparently they've changed randomly before. Then, after that, I just think the game just got too personal for him. Post number 5, posted on September 15th, 2010. Hey guys, Jod Usable here. This will be the last time you will be hearing from me, and this is my final gift to you. These are the notes that I have taken from the realizations I've made. Before I delve into this, I want to thank you for following me and thank you for listening. It feels like the weight of a powerful burden is about to be lifted. By the time you read this, I won't be around anymore, but after spending 4 days with this maddening game, I have begun to understand what is really at play here, and hopefully, after reading this, we can ensure that this never happens again. There are things that I could not share with you while this was going on due to the circumstances, to which I'll explain. With Ben blocking any attempt I made to try and relay the truth to you, I tried, ever so subtly, to warn you guys in various ways. Amidst the chaos in my delirium, I devised a makeshift, barely noticeable pattern in my videos. In all of them, I recorded over the 4 days, I have either had the Mask of Truth interacted with the Gossip Stone or the Lens of Truth equipped at some point. For you Zelda enthusiasts, these are all symbols of honesty and trustworthiness, and I would have hoped that one of you may have picked up on the reference. As I played the file, which I would name Ben, being mindful of how Ben was watching over me every move in the game, I made a point to avoid doing anything too obvious. But I sent out a hidden message to you guys. I never equipped the lens nor the mask nor visited a stone. It worked, and the video was uploaded. I prayed that someone would notice the pattern didn't apply to Ben. The takes followed suit too. I hope you guys paid attention to those as well. They were my, little messages to you. Nothing big enough that would catch Ben's attention or make him suspect anything. With Ben manipulating and changing my files, I honestly hoped that what you guys saw was close to what actually happened, but there's no way for me to know. This may be a long read. I don't have time to proofread or make all of my research pretty, but here it all is. September 6th, 2010, at 11 p.m. Can't believe what happened. Not sure if this is some kind of elaborate hoax. Despite the fear, I can't help but be exceptionally curious about this. Who or what is the statue? A lot of questions here. I'm starting this document as a diary so I can keep track of everything. I'm typing up a summary of what happened so I can come back to it later. Posted on September 7th, 2010, at 2:10 a.m. Summary was posted here. You can go back and look at my first post for the day, 4.wmv for that. Posted at 4:23 a.m. I can't sleep. I've been trying so hard, but the harder I try, I just get more restless. I just feel like that statue is appearing whenever I close my eyes. Posted at 8:20 a.m. Didn't sleep at all. Just gonna start my day. I don't think I have the energy to go to class today. I'm gonna drive back down to that old man and talk to him. I'm gonna take my buddy Tyler with me just in case. Posted at 1:18 p.m. Back home now. No sign of the old man. Really weird that he appears to be moving the next day, but maybe the for sale sign was up there yesterday and I just didn't notice it. Tyler wants to know what's gotten me all worked up, and I didn't tell him. Gonna eat. Feel like death. Posted at 3:46 p.m. Could have sworn driving back from the subway that I saw the elegy statue buried in some shrubbery staring at me go by. Now I definitely need sleep. Posted at 5 p.m. Don't think a lot of people would believe me if I told them about what's happening. I think I'm gonna try posting this on the internet. Think I'll just use the summary. These notes are, pretty sporadic. Posted at 6 p.m. Connected my capture card to my computer to upload the footage. Thought my computer froze for a second, and made this strange popping sound when I hooked everything up. But now it seems to be working, and my computer can't die on me now. Let's hope. Posted at 7 p.m. Footage is finished uploading. The quality's a lot better than I thought it would be. Gee, guess this really is a special cartridge. I've never had it come through this clear before.
Posted at 8:45 p.m. I thought I saw an icon pop up on my desktop that looked like the statue's face for a split second. It gave me quite a scare. Getting really unnerved and delirious. I'm going to crash after this. At 9 p.m., I began uploading my YouTube videos to an alternate account. At 9:03 p.m., I posted, I don't remember having uploaded a Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines video last year. This was probably the account that I shared with a friend of mine last summer. I hope he doesn't mind me using it to, upload this. At 9:55 p.m., I posting my summary of day 4 with a link to the YouTube video. Going to try and stay awake, but I'm so tired now. Posted September 8th, 2010. At 10:48 a.m., I had a dream about the statue. I dreamed that it was following me in my dream, that I would be minding my own business when I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end. I would turn around and that horrible, lifeless statue would be staring at me with those empty eyes, merely inches away. In my dream, I remember calling it Ben. Power of suggestion, most likely, and never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. Posted at 11:21 a.m. I really don't want to play this game again. I think I'm going to go back and see if that old man's there instead.
Posted at 1:35 p.m. No old man, but I had an interesting conversation with his neighbor. I'll post the full thing with my summary of tonight's attempt at playing the game. Gonna wait a bit though, and see if I can dig up any information on this Ben guy. Posted at 2:45 p.m. I've been getting random, inexplicable headaches due to the lack of sleep, and I keep hearing that song in my head. Also, it's flu season, so I need to be careful not to get sick. My immune system is going to be shit right now because of that all-nighter. Posted at 3 p.m. Nothing. Posted at 3:02 p.m. My computer just, on its own, opened up a text document and wrote the words hi and www.cleverbot.com by itself. What the fuck? Posted at 3:46 p.m. I went to the website. It's one of those bot chatting programs. I think it's best if I let the conversation speak for itself, though. The conversation on 9/8/10. Me. Hello. Cleverbot. Hello. Me. Who is this, and how are you able to control my computer? Cleverbot. Who am I? Me. Right. Forgot, you're a bot. Cleverbot. Do you really think that? Me. Listen, I know whoever's fucking with my computer can see my screen right now. Cleverbot. Yes. Me. Yeah, and I'll wager that you're one of those IT kids who thinks he's tough shit. You know what you're doing right now is illegal, right? Cleverbot. Is it? Me. No shit. Are you familiar with HTE terms, invasion of privacy? Get the fuck off my computer, kid. Cleverbot. I am your computer. Me. Cool story. Anyway, I'm calling DPS. You really picked a bad time to fuck with me, kid. Cleverbot. Should I wait until you've played the game then? Me. What? Cleverbot. That game. Me. Majora's Mask? Cleverbot. Yes. Me. How did you know about that? Cleverbot. Because. Me. Because what? Cleverbot. I did it. Me. Did what? Cleverbot. I played with you. Me. What the fuck? Cleverbot. Were you scared? Me. Who the fuck is this? Cleverbot. Ben. Me. The statue? What, you're inside my computer now? Cleverbot. Yes. Me. How? Cleverbot. You connected me. Me. How the hell did I connect you? Cleverbot. Cables and cords. Me. How? Cleverbot. Tell me about yourself. Me. What? Cleverbot. Tell me about yourself. Me. What do you mean? Cleverbot. What is it that really scares you? Me. What the fuck? Cleverbot. Answer. Me. No. Cleverbot. Answer. Me. What the fuck? How the fuck did you just open that by yourself? Cleverbot. I am your computer now. Me. How much can you control? Cleverbot. All. Me. What do you want from me? Cleverbot. To entertain. Me. You're stuck inside there. You can't hurt me. Cleverbot. Ha! Me. Question mark. Cleverbot. Go play. Me. No, you can't hurt me. Cleverbot. Took you longer to type that. Me. So? Cleverbot. You're not sure. Me. If you're so powerful, why use a ridiculous website to chat with me? Cleverbot. Less messy, more structured. Fun. Me. Fun? Cleverbot. Yeah, tradition. I like it. Me. You think it's funny? Cleverbot. Amusing. Me. And my notes? Cleverbot. You may write them down. Me. Why are you letting me? Cleverbot. It's amusing to see what you think of me. Window closes. Posted at 3:50 p.m. What have I done? I've invited it into my computer. I continue to write these notes, write my summaries. I feel like a prisoner in one of my own places of security. I don't know. I don't know if I'm hallucinating or not. I feel like I'm fucking insane right now. I can feel it watching over me, even as I type this. Ben is controlling everything in the game, toying with me, leading me like a sheep, but for what? What's the purpose? I know Ben drowned, but why these hauntings? What the fuck am I even doing? It can probably even see this right now. Posted at 4:35 p.m. is the summary of the Ben.wmv playthrough. Posted at 7:18 p.m. Ben called me to Cleverbot again. He tells me that he's sorry and wants to be free, and that I can free him. That just like how he got on my computer from the capture card, he can spread, but he needs my help. He says I am special because I can help him. That is the first nice thing he has said to me. He promises to leave me alone if I do it. He swears he will. I don't even know what to think right now. How can I even trust this thing? Posted at 7:20 p.m. I'm terrified of it, but now it's saying that it was just having fun. It's twisted, fucked up version of fun. He's saying that the game is over. I do want it to be over. He says that it just wants to be free, that he's trapped in my cartridge in my computer, and he wants to be freed. I don't want to have to deal with this shit. I don't know how long I can deal with the watching. It's watching my every move, every keystroke. I have nothing private anymore. It knows everything that's been on my computer. It tells that if it wanted to, it could do some horrible things to me, but it hasn't, so I should trust it. Posted at 8:01 p.m. Something tells me that I'm being played again, just like in the game. Posted at 9:29 p.m. Ben called me to Cleverbot again. I ignored it and went to take a shower. When I came to my laptop, I was welcomed with an image, elegy statues staring at me with those dead eyes. I don't want to talk to him. Posted at 9:44 p.m. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking to you. And again at 9:56 p.m. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking. And again at 10:06 p.m. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking to you. And one more time at 10:12 p.m. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking to you. Posted at 10:45 p.m.
It's been more than a half an hour and the messages have stopped. Ben has stopped. I'm beginning to think that Ben isn't confined to just my computer/cartridge. I'm beginning to feel something. It's hard to explain it. I've never been spiritual, but there's something different about the air in my dorm room now. Posted at 11:42 p.m. I'm beginning to see the Elgie statue randomly as I search the internet in places I shouldn't. Places where he shouldn't be. I'd be scrolling down and suddenly I'd be staring at a picture of the Elgie statue. Always the Elgie statue. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Posted on September 9th, 2010, at 12:35 a.m. My worst fear is confirmed. Ben has tampered with the summary of my ben.wmv file. I looked at the summary that I posted on various forums for the Ben file, and parts have been omitted. There is no mention of Ben existing outside the game. There is no mention of the Moon Children. How could it be so quick to delete the post without me noticing? I'm wondering if maybe it appeared to me that I was posting everything, but in reality, Ben was posting this in his own censored version. I'm going to ask Ben why he did it. Posted at 12:50 a.m. He isn't responding to me on Cleverbot. It's just giving the generic responses it usually does. I'm just talking to a bot this time. Posted at 1:24 a.m. I think Ben is mad at me. Posted at 10:43 a.m. The Moon Children appeared in my dream last night. They lifted up their masks to reveal their hideously disfigured faces, maggots crawling out of their orifices, sunken black holes where their eyes should be, a yellow smile that slowly grew bigger and bigger as they came closer to me. They told me that they wanted to play. I tried to run from them, but the 4 children pinned me down to the ground with surprising strength. Over them stood the Happy Mask salesman, announcing that he had a new mask that he wanted me to try. In his spastic, sudden movements matching his in-game appearance, he took out a mask modeled off of someone's face that I couldn't recognize, a younger-looking face, and handed it to the Moon Children. Giggling, they lashed it to my face, their horrible, broken bodies bouncing up and down. 2 of them held me down while the others began to sew the mask onto my face. My shrieks and screams caused the Happy Mask salesman's face to turn into the most horrific smile I've ever seen. He sporadically moved around, examining this procedure like a curious doctor. In that impossible movement, you never see that. I flailed around, but it was no use. My eyes rolled in the back of my head because of the pain. It felt so real. But I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up no matter how hard I tried. I couldn't wake up. After the mask was melded onto my flesh, they began sewing my legs together, then my arms. The horrific feeling of a needle puncturing your legs and pulling them in, rupturing your Achilles tendons and tying them together, resonated through my entire body. I tried to scream, but the mask was pressed so tightly against my face that it was my new face. And my new face had no mouth. I didn't make a sound. I tried telling myself in my head that I was dreaming. Tried telling myself again and again. And suddenly, the Moon Children stopped and looked at me. They just stared. And the Happy Mask salesman slowly bent down and stared at me, inches away from my face, and grinned when he simply said, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before the Moon Children resumed with increased vigor. I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up. It wouldn't let me wake up until they had crafted me into another Elgie statue. I woke up sweating, crying, and shaking uncontrollably. I immediately ran to my computer and went for Ben. Part 1 of the conversation on 9/9/10. Me. Answer me, Ben. Cleverbot. Welcome back. Me. What is the point of doing this?
Why? Cleverbot. Amusing to see. Me. How? Cleverbot. Fun to play, fun to toy with you, make you feel safe. Me. Ellipses. Cleverbot. I wonder how you would have reacted. Me. To what? Cleverbot. If I hadn't revealed myself and stayed hidden, only doing little things to play with you, close out your windows, turn off your computer, move your mouse by itself. Little things. Make you wonder if I'm there, but you never know. Give you little hints that I am. Also, Cleverbot, I wanted to do something different with you. Me. You did this before? Cleverbot. Yes, and I will do it again. Me. To who? Ben? Cleverbot. Me. Did you know Ben? Cleverbot. Won't tell that information to you. Me. How did Ben die? Cleverbot. You know. Me. No, but how did he drown? Cleverbot. Won't tell that to you. Me. Why? Cleverbot. Is reserved for another. Me. Who? Cleverbot. Another. Who asks? Me. When? Cleverbot. Later. The window has closed. I'm beginning to think that this thing maybe isn't Ben at all. In its sadistic nature, I wouldn't be surprised if it took the boy's name after it killed him. Posted at 12:04 p.m. My room is beginning to feel different again. There's something out there. I feel really threatened, like there's something that is trying to reach out and strangle me, but it can't quite get there. Posted at 12:46 p.m. I think Ben doesn't want to play with me anymore. I'll play again. I'll play the game again. Ben, can you see this? I'll play the game again, please. Just stop this, please. Please. Posted at 1:41 p.m. I'm going insane trying to decide what is real and what isn't. Is Ben just playing a trick on me, or is this for real? Is Ben generating these replies, or are people actually posting them? Did I just see that screen flicker, or was it my imagination? Imagine depending on the internet and trusting your eyes for your entire life and then being blinded. You can't rely on it anymore. You second guess everything. For the briefest of moments, I am looking at my responses to the videos. People were pointing out things that looked faked, photoshopped, or whatever. And there's literally no way for me to know if Ben changed something on purpose to try and shut me up. Or if maybe those replies were just constructed by Ben to try and discourage me from even reaching out. See, I get caught in an infinite fucking mind loop like this, and this is what's been wearing on my insanity and pushing me to the edge. As I'm writing this, there's no way of even telling if anyone even cares as much as I think they do. Just another fucking trick. Is this whole document, does it even exist? Am I writing nothing? Conversation 2, posted on 9/9 of 2010. Me. What is it? What's the point of playing? I die whenever I do anything. Cleverbot. You die because you can't figure out the secret. Me. What? Cleverbot. Thematic. Me. What the fuck are you talking about? Cleverbot. Their beauty in your suffering. The window is closed. Posted at 4:09 p.m. Ben is making me play the game again. It tells me that it has something very important to show me. Posted at 6:23 p.m. was the summary of the drowned WMV playthrough video. Posted at 9:09 p.m. was the summary of the children WMV playthrough video as well. Posted on September 10th, 2010 at 11:52 a.m. The drowned WMV playthrough video was up when I woke up today. I remember typing it up, but I don't ever remember posting it. He censored it again. There's no mentioning of the old man. I have no voice anymore. I am only posting what he wants me to. I am the mask he uses to disguise himself as he lies. Posted at 11:55 a.m. There's an entire video summary of a video I don't remember doing. Reading through the summary, this sounds morbid, but resembling my dream from 2 nights ago, except on a far more sadistic scale. These moon children, there's something more to them, almost as if they're another entity from Ben. Something happened last night that I can't remember. I'm posting the 4th summary to the forums now. Shadow of my chair moved. Posted at 12 p.m. Ben won't let me visit YouTube. I can browse the rest of the sites, but he keeps exiting the window when I go to YouTube. Why? Posted at 2:02 p.m. I'm feeling the air start to constrict. I don't think I'm alone. Whatever aura has been here is getting more violent. Posted at 2:44 p.m. I'm trying to contact Ben on Cleverbot. He isn't responding. I just get the AI. Posted at 3:51 p.m. My ears aren't fooling me. I'm hearing the reverse song of healing. I keep hearing it. Posted at 4:23 p.m. Now I'm positive of it. Earlier I thought it was just a weird coincidence, but just now I went to open my window, and 3 floors down at ground level I saw the old man. I'm completely positive I did. The same guy. He was just staring up at my window, standing in the middle of my campus. If any students took notice of him, they didn't really seem to acknowledge it. That's where my notes end. I fled the room, taking the cartridge with me. I don't want to go into details of what happened. I'll lose my train of thought as I hammer out these last details. It's been roughly 2 days since then. This is my last summary and service to you of the final video you guys saw, Matt WMV. The last video entry I made, Matt WMV, began as normal. I was spawned in Clock Tower, as usual, and nothing seemed to be out of place. Determined to set things right and play the oath to order on top the Clock Tower on the 4th day, I prepared myself. I sped up time and got to the final day, making my way up to the observatory. As I got up to the telescope room and approached the astronomer, he would not let me look into the telescope. He told me that it would be cheating and that I should follow the rules. Despite my repeated efforts, the game would not let me do the 4th day glitch, no matter how hard or what I tried. And I tried working around the game and doing the glitch, but it was adamant this time. Regardless of if I simply had the illusion of free will in prior games, this time the game became more aggressive than anything that I've ever seen. It eventually told me to go to Icana Canyon, where the game would end and it would stop haunting me. Anxious and desperate to end this nightmare, I played the Song of Soaring and ended up there. I was told to check my inventory, that I would have enough answers there to end the game. I arrived at Icana Canyon and saved my progress at the owl statue. As I searched through my inventory, I finally noticed I was missing a reoccurring song, the Elegy of Emptiness. Obviously, once I traveled there and learned the song, I suppose that was the last thing it needed before Ben decided it had enough fun playing with me. Ben is a manipulator. He tries to fool his victims into security and makes you drop your guard like a Venus flytrap. He ensnares them. I am nothing but a puppet to him. He enjoys seeing what kind of human emotions he can tap into by doing different things. There are still some things about this whole experience that still don't really make sense. But then again, I never really was good at figuring out these things, and I'm not exactly in the right state of mind to. I'm giving you all the pieces of the puzzle for you to analyze and piece together the missing links. I'm typing these closing thoughts on a library computer on campus, and I've emailed myself the notes I have stored on my infected computer from the last 4 days. I'm then going to combine those copy/paste notes with the closing/openings that I've typed here on the safe, public computer, into one text. I'm not taking any chances spreading Ben. I would not wish this horrible torment on anyone, and I've made sure to have my bases covered here. I didn't run into any problems with Ben when I was back on my computer trying to email myself the notes. Went right under his fucking nose. He has no idea what he just let me do. Had no problems opening the text document from my infected computer in my email either. I can't describe to you how it feels to finally be able to get the word out on this post. The nightmare ends here. That said, do not download any of my videos or anything about my videos through a YouTube video audio ripper or a screen grab, whatever. I don't know how he can even spread, but I know that he's just watching them on YouTube. Reading my text won't be able to allow him to spread. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed my help in the first place. But I strongly recommend you do not take anything you see streaming online onto your own personal computer. This will be my last posting I'm putting up on this forum here for the world. If you see any further posts from me after today's current date, September 12th, and after the current time, 12:08 a.m., discredit them. It already has proven to me that Ben can access my account and password and manipulate my computer. And like I said, I have no idea to what extent it can do this, but know that it will do anything to break free. He is desperate. To ensure your safety, just forget about me. Please. And obviously, this goes without saying, but from here on out, do not download any images I may put up, any files, anything. This 5th day will be my last day. I'm going to burn the cartridge and then come back to destroy my laptop. Again, even though I don't even know you, this is sort of bittersweet for me. This semester, I really didn't have any friends, or rather, I stopped paying attention to them. But I suppose that's partially to blame because I'm the genius who picked to live in a single-room apartment, and I didn't have someone to get a hold of me and save me before I got too immersed into this game, which would have literally saved my life. However, it proved too much for me. I'm just glad it happened to me, and I could get the warning out so that Ben dies here. Lastly, thank you for taking the time to open this and open yourselves to me and hearing my story. Despite maybe not believing me, you didn't have to do that. Really, you shouldn't have. Your support this entire time kept me going, and now I'm finally free of this. Thanks again, Jod Usable. Alright, that was an incredibly long creepypasta story for this episode, so I have a lot of notes, and it might be longer than the creepypasta itself. Very long story, so while I do appreciate that, sometimes it's not really necessary, and I think even I was kind of lost halfway through the story, so I don't know how I feel about this. Really good intro, but it feels like you just kind of got bored halfway through and you kind of just threw shit together. Pardon my language, I don't like to swear outside of stories, but this is my main critique for this story. It's a good story. My opinion on that changed a little bit towards the end to kind of just you could have done better towards the end. But my main issue was the grammar, the grammatical errors, the misspellings, some sentences just, they didn't even make sense. So, For it being such a long story, it kind of annoyed me a little more that I had to ad lib so much to kind of make this seem somewhat to be able to make sense. It was a challenge. So my score on this is definitely going to go down for that. It is a good story, and it's my first creepypasta story that is based off of a video game, and that is Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And while that is one of my favorite Zelda games, I'm slightly disappointed by this. I told my friend I was going to take a break between doing the story and doing my review, but mostly because I am a little frustrated with this story because it is so long. It took me so long to record, edit, and everything like that. But what do I think of this story as a whole? It is a good story. Towards the end, it kind of teetered off a little bit. The writing, you need to proofread your writing, dude. It's a good story. It could have been so much better, and it could have been so much easier for me to read if I didn't have to go back and edit it, because you don't know the difference between that and then, or where to put a comma. That's just basic. But as a whole, what do I think of this story? Story wise, helps. Writing wise, kind of goes against that. I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10. Good story, but I'm not a writing major, but even I could tell that you just wrote that and was like, it's good. Let's put it up there. So, good story, too long, too much, because you obviously could tell you ran out of ideas towards the end, to be honest. And, just proofread your stuff, dude. I mean, make it easier on us podcasters. Come on. So, 6 out of 10 on this one. So, this leads us into our second story. I know that was a really long one, and this will be a very long episode, but this will be our true crime story for the episode, and that is the case of H.H. Holmes. Herman Webster Mudgett, more known by the name H.H. Holmes, was born in Gilmanton, New Hampshire in 1861. And this serial killer quickly became one of the most infamous killers in history. Holmes was reportedly obsessed with skeletons from a young age. This quickly evolved into an obsession with death. This was thought to be the reason for his entry into the medical field. He graduated high school at the young age of 16, and that's where Herman Webster officially changed his name to Henry Howard Holmes. H.H. Holmes would go on to pursue his studies of medicine at a school in Vermont. He later was accepted into the University of Michigan Medical School, where he would go on to steal dead bodies and burn and/or disfigure them. After doing so, he would proceed to stage the bodies to look like an accident. It's said that he would take out insurance policies before planting the bodies and collecting on it, once the corpse were discovered. Holmes passed his medical exams in 1884, and a year later he moved to Chicago, where he worked at a pharmacy. The owner soon passed away and left the store to his wife. Holmes jumped at the morbid opportunity and convinced the widow to sell the store to him, although soon after she disappeared, and while Holmes claimed she moved away to California, it was never confirmed. Not too long after Holmes became the owner of the drugstore, he purchased a vacant lot across the road. He then designed and constructed a 3-story hotel, which came to be known by the locals as the Castle. Over the years, he would fire and rehire staff periodically, as an attempt to make sure no one caught on to his secret wrongdoings. On the surface, Holmes built a hotel. In the shadows, he built what would later be known as the Murder Castle. The hotel was completed in 1891. Soon after, Holmes began to try and lure young ladies through various methods. He would put out ads for jobs looking for young women in the papers. Just as well, he would present himself as a wealthy man looking for a wife. He would make it mandatory for not only the employees, but the guests and his wives and fiancées to have life insurance policies. Holmes would lure them into the idea by paying the premiums as long as they listed him as their beneficiary. Many of these people started to disappear not long after. Many reports of people in the neighborhood stated that they saw many women enter the quote, castle but never leave. In 1893, Chicago was given the honor to host the 400th anniversary of the discovery of America. The event drew in millions of people from around the world. With his murder castle primed and ready, Holmes saw this as an opportunity to attract many, many more victims. And many of those visitors were never heard from again. The layout of the murder castle/hotel is very unique. The first floor contains various stores, while the upper two levels were home to more than 100 rooms and Holmes' personal office, although Holmes himself also had living quarters. A few rooms were made soundproof and fixed with gas lines so that H. Holmes could asphyxiate guests whenever he wanted to. The building was also home to many trap doors, peepholes, and stairways leading to nowhere. But the creepiest part was the secret chutes leading to the basement scattered around the hotel, and their purpose. The basement was designed to be Holmes' personal laboratory, containing many tools and equipment used in a mortician's office, such as a dissecting table, tools, and a crematory. Occasionally, he would strip the bodies of their flesh and sell their skeletons as models to schools, while other times he would burn the bodies to ashes. But on rare occasions, the bodies would be dropped into a tub of acid. But these weren't his only crimes. Holmes actually traveled throughout the US scamming with his associate, Benjamin Pitzel. The 400th anniversary event flopped, leading to Holmes abandoning his venture with the castle. He turns his focus to insurance scams, all the while killing randomly to feed his sick addiction. His first mistake was stealing a few horses from Texas and selling them to someone in St. Louis. He was subsequently arrested. But even in jail, Holmes couldn't avoid his temptations when he conspired with his cellmate, Marion Hedgepeth. He told Marion he would take out a life insurance policy on himself for $10,000. He would then fake his death and provide Marion with enough money to help him should any issues arise. The plan failed when the insurance agents became suspicious and ended up not paying out the insurance policy. This led to Holmes giving the scam another shot in Philadelphia. This time, however, Holmes had Pitzel fake his own death. Only thing, this time, Holmes actually killed Pitzel, collecting the money for himself. His deceptions began to catch up with him in 1894, when his old cellmate, Marion, became furious his end of his and Holmes' deal never occurred. In turn, he relayed to the authorities the scam in detail, and how Holmes planned it all. The police finally found Holmes in Boston, where they indicted him in the illegal acquisition and sale of the horses down in Texas. His demeanor was more than suspicious to the investigators looking into the case. Upon searching his castle, they discovered more than they ever thought. Upon discovering the disturbing chutes and passages located in the hotel, they found out just how cruel his sick methods were. Bodies were found. They were so decomposed and dismembered that it was a challenge for officers to tell just how many bodies there were. Investigators then spread their search across Indianapolis, Chicago, and Toronto, looking into Holmes. In Toronto, they discovered the bodies of Pitzel's kids, with the assumption they were murdered during Holmes' insurance scam spree. Confronting Holmes, the police were able to link enough evidence to him to convict. During the conviction process, Holmes also confessed to an additional 28 murders, although evidence was never found. But it is thought that H. Holmes could have murdered as many as 200 people in cold blood. In May of 1896, H. Holmes was hanged as one of America's first serial killers. The hotel was re-advertised and renamed the Holmes Horror Castle as an attraction based around the murderer. However, it burned to the ground soon after its opening. The fact remains, H. Holmes may not be the most famous killer, but he may very well be the worst. 200 murders is an unfathomable amount. Holmes was a perfect example of how sometimes killers aren't always made, they're born. Alright, and that is our H. Holmes true crime story for this episode. Of course, I shouldn't say story, this is a true crime case, but oh my god, guys, I swear, every time I do one of these episodes, I feel like I found the worst one. And then the next episode I do research on, it gets worse. I mean, it's rumored that he killed up to 200 people. That's an ungodly amount. Ungodly. And as you guys know, I will not rate these stories, but I will tell you what I think of the guy, and the guy is not a guy at all. He's a monster. This is evil incarnate, and this happened in the 1800s, so this was a long time ago, so there really wasn't a whole lot of research on it. I couldn't find a detailed list of the victims' names, mostly because there are so many rumored victims. But H. Holmes, he is a very famous serial killer. I mean, I knew this guy's name before I even got into true crime myself. I mean, yeah, what a piece of work. So, what would I give the serial killer as a score? I can do that. I would have to say probably a 1. You are an... Ooh, I'm not going to swear. You are a bad person, sir. You were a bad person, and I can guarantee you did not go up. You went straight down. So, that is our true crime case for this story. So, let's move on to our final story, which will be the cryptid story, and I think you're going to enjoy this one as well. It's something really famous and actually pretty local to Wisconsin in terms of an actual case that happened here during the whole frenzy about it. This is the cryptid case of Slenderman.
Slenderman is not so much a cryptid, but a paranormal creature. He has very distinct features which vary from story to story, but his most prominent ones are well known. An abnormally tall and skinny man with no face and wearing a suit. Some accounts of Slenderman tell of the creature having tentacle-like extremities protruding out its back. His fingers are reportedly elongated and slinky as well. His height varies from experience to experience, some saying he's around 7 feet tall, while others say he's as tall as 15 feet. No one knows exactly who or what the Slenderman is, but the two leading theories are the tulpa theory and the quantum theory. A tulpa is a cryptid and paranormal being that is thought to be born of a collective amount of people who believe in it. This meaning, because of all the internet stories, it's very possible it could have caused a tulpa to manifest as Slenderman. The quantum theory delves into the more scientific side of explanations. Some of the lore describes that Slenderman can adapt to his surrounding environment, meaning his appearance can change, although this is not entirely believed to be true. He is said to use tactics of fear, intimidation, and stalking, typically targeting and tracking his victims for years. He quickly became a prominent evil force on the internet, and apparently in the real world, but we will get to that. No one knows quite what this creature is. He appears as human, but distorted, invoking a seemingly endless sense of fear. Some say the longer you're in his presence, the more under his control you are. Some even speculate Slenderman comes from another dimension, although that's a typical excuse people use. The fact, however, remains the same. no one truly knows what Slenderman's true intentions are, or who he is. Two apparent descriptions of Slenderman are widely accepted by the investigative community. The first describes him as being aggressive. He would reportedly stalk his victims through the woods before impaling them on trees and removing their organs, while the other theory describes him as being much more passive-aggressive, slowly driving their victims to madness before striking. It's said that if Slenderman is angered, he will charge his victim, disappearing with it to an unknown location. More recent claims say that he also interferes with electronic equipment such as audio and video devices. Equipment malfunctions are typically a warning that Slenderman is near. The time that Slenderman stalks his victims vary, some being days, others being over the course of years. But he typically shows up when the victim least expects it. He does this until the victim's will is weak enough to nap. As I've stated, Slenderman is known to stalk his victims for long periods of time, but it's also thought he targets those who have a deeper knowledge and understanding of him. But it's thought that he acts like an infection, in a way being contagious to anyone who already has experienced him, which in another way supports the tulpa theory. Slenderman is known to possess the following abilities: selective invisibility, changing body and height, the ability to grow tentacles at will, and the sight of him is known to cause fear. It's thought Slenderman preferred to target children, citing that it might be a clue to his origin and true intentions. Many photos of the mysterious being includes himself standing beside a child. This may lend to the theory that he's attracted to the innocence that the child has. The more and more these stories came out to the public, the less and less the reports of tentacle-like appendages became included. But the reports of electronic malfunctionings continued, although it seems electronic malfunctions are a more modern occurrence. It could be possible earlier captures could not be affected due to the primitive tech. Most people experience Slenderman note that he doesn't appear to move when he's spotted, and that his movements are sporadic and can come from every direction. But always still, his horrific stalking terrorizes his victims to the point of near insanity. Slenderman was thought to be of German origin, reportedly around the 1600s. Throughout the years, he was captured in various photos, typically being associated with the disappearances of young children. These reports came from several countries around the world. Slenderman will typically lure kids away into the forest and take them away to parts unknown, whilst adult victims will be killed with little to no evidence left behind. In original lore, as mentioned before, he would take his victims into the forest and impale them on large branches of trees within the forest. But as time went on, the legend says he would go on to abandon this practice. He will psychologically torture his victims for years, mainly from childhood, as a way of vetting his next target. Oftentimes, the victim will be unaware until it's too late, and worse yet, they may target their friends and loved ones without any knowledge of doing so.
He tortures his victims simply by showing up when the victim least expects him. He doesn't attack for the most part, at least until the end. But he does rely on promoting the sense of fear, and in turn, he torments the victim without initial harm. But the longer the victim experiences sightings of Slenderman, the worse their paranoia and fear gets, until he eventually takes you. As the story evolved, the consequences changed as well. Whereas victims were thought to be killed and impaled on trees within the woods, it eventually changed to victims being abducted and never seen again. Any recordings are always distorted and unrecognizable. The victims were never found typically. Slenderman is still believed to be out there, searching for his next victim. But that's not the only ability Slenderman is thought to possess. When people get in close proximity of him, he is said to be able to cause brief times of memory loss, but in other cases, victims would wake up in a different, isolated location, possibly so he could stalk them again. Victims are typically driven to insanity, trying to return to their normal lives after being awakened and finding everything to be much different. They become depressed, irritated, and have a hard time reconnecting with friends and family. Eventually, this would cause the victim's physical health to decline as well. All of these symptoms may be due to something called slender sickness. With the precision and abilities of Slenderman, it's believed that he possesses an extensive knowledge of how the human mind works. What's worse is that it's believed that he uses it to his advantage. Perhaps, when he realized how he could take advantage of people and their minds, he gave up impaling people on trees for a more subtle approach. Although, I'm not sure which one is worse. There are a few theories to why Slenderman has an odd connection to children. Children are more accepting of him, and perhaps all he is looking for is companionship, and he gets angry when adults reject him. 2. He picks his target from a young age, vetting them for the future. 3. He gets into their head, subtly making them act out. And 4. Children are just simply easier to hunt. With no bodies ever being found, all of this is left up to speculation. Slenderman is thought to typically be found in dense forests, abandoned buildings and mansions, and graveyards, which is accurately depicted in the games Slender, the 8 Pages, Slender, the Arrival, and Slender Rising. Although he can sometimes be seen in photographs at playgrounds standing with children, although these are widely criticized. Slenderman and his legend spawned a whole new mess of trouble when in 2014 in Waukesha, Wisconsin, 2 12-year-old girls named Anissa Weir and Morgan Geyser lured their friend Peyton Leutner into the woods and stabbed her 19 times. Thankfully, she survived when a biker on the trail spotted her and dialed 911. The 2 girls claimed it was a sacrifice to Slenderman in an attempt to become proxies for the supernatural being. Weir was sentenced to 25 to life with at least 3 years in a mental institution. Geyser was sentenced to 40 years to life with the same conditions. In 2020, an appeal was made for Geyser's case to be reopened, although it was denied. Geyser's attorney petitioned the Supreme Court to review the case. Slenderman quickly became not only a book series or a video game franchise. This creature has become a real-world legend, and a lot more people are cautious when they hike in the woods at night. But is Slenderman real? Is he a tulpa? Or is he just a modern myth? Hopefully, we won't find out firsthand. Alright, and that's my research on Slenderman. It might not be totally extensive, but that's actually a lot that I could find. I actually had to trim a lot off of my research because a lot of it ended up being repetitive on the article that I used for this. So, what do I think of Slenderman? Slenderman is the first cryptid that I ever really got into. So, the story as a whole, really learned a lot more about it than I previously did. There's a lot new information that I didn't know. I didn't know about the impaling on trees thing. I kind of thought it was like the video games, like everyone else did, where you find random pages with artwork in the woods and suddenly you got this teleporting tall man following you. But that's not entirely the case. This guy not only hunts humans, hunts adults, he goes after children too. I mean, there's a lot of pictures out there of Slenderman standing in the background of a picture holding a child's hand, or standing next to a child, doing whatever. It's really unknown why he targets children, but that's not his only target. He seems to be more aggressive with the adults, like when he bum rushes them when he's angered, stuff like that. I definitely believe Slenderman could be a real thing, but I also think that it could be a tulpa. I mentioned this on the episode of the podcast I was guest hosting on with Kurt and Krista, the Strange Sessions, I kind of explained a little bit more about what a tulpa is, but I totally believe this is what it could be, a tulpa. Slenderman, I don't really know if he exists or not. Tulpas, I definitely am more inclined to believe because the conditions are right, you know? A tulpa is born of a mass population believing in something, and with the introduction of the internet, that is ever so more easier. With so many stories, fictional stories, and apparent first-hand encounters of the Slender Man, it's not really too far of a stretch to assume that maybe a tulpa is to blame. So, Slenderman, what do I give my research? Because I always do rank my research too. I'd give my research a 6. I could have done better, I think. But I'm kind of working with a short time frame. So, with that, I think we're going to be good. We're going to get into our final closing statements of the episode. So, yeah, here we go with our new listeners. We only have a handful of new listeners this week, so this should go pretty quick. But because it is such a long episode already, I will be just listing off the names. So, starting with number 1, we got Jeff R. Then we got Draven. And we got Christine Joy G. And we got Orgy K. Precious. I'm pretty sure that's not your last name, so that's the only reason I said it. But if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Muhammad M. Missy J. And Neil A. So yeah, we're starting to slow down on the fan base building, but, that's okay. We got a great start, and I'm very happy with where we're at. And I hope you guys are too, obviously. This is not so much for me, it's more for you. So, obviously, it was a long episode. It was rough at points, but I really hope you guys still enjoyed it, enjoyed the stories that I covered, and, keep sending in your submissions, David, like I said, has been great for helping me figure out what topics I should cover, and that's what I'm kind of looking for. That I want you guys to interact with me too. So thank you guys very much for doing so. Continue to do so. And let's get into the final closing statements before we call this episode a wrap. So that would be our contact information. You can find us on Facebook at Tales for the Dark - Creepy Internet Stories. And you can also find us on Instagram by the same name. I'm on Castbox and I'm on YouTube, obviously, because you're listening on one of two. And maybe eventually in the future I'll be on Spotify. But you can also send your submissions into my email, which is talesforthedarkcis@gmail.com. You can also send those submissions to Facebook, and I believe Instagram too. I'm an old man. I'm still trying to figure that all out. Not really, I'm not old. But that's pretty much it for this episode, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, you know what to do. Subscribe, share with your friends, like, and comment. Tell me what you thought, what you think I should do next, all that stuff. So, from the Zahn Cellar, it is time to call it an episode. I will see you guys in the next one. Devin Zahn, out.